Hey there, I am glad you're here. I have a story to share. I am sure you shall love it. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do subscribe. Be comfortable, here I begin. March 12, 2020. 2300 hours. I'm alone out here. Just me, my ATV, and the dense forest of the Blue Mountains. The terrain is rough. Muddy roads, potholes, and the trees here don't let up, and the winding roads are messing with my head. It's been over 24 hours since I lost contact with my team. The last transmission came in around 1700 hours yesterday. After that, nothing. The radio's quiet, the only sound being the low hum of my engine and the crunch of the tires on the gravel. This road, Eagles Ridge Road, is as remote as it gets. It twists and turns through the thickest part of the forest. They sent me here for a reason. Special mission, they said. Find the missing team. Recover intel. That was the order. But they left out the part about why the hell we lost contact in the first place. What happened to them? I don't know. I adjust my grip on the M4A1 strapped to my back and keep the throttle steady. The night is thick, suffocating, and as the ATV lights cut through the darkness, they reveal the faint glow of fireflies dancing through the air. The forest seems alive with small, shifting particles of dust, each one drifting in the beam of my headlight. I can't shake the feeling that something's watching. Not gonna lie. A presence just outside the reach of my lights. I wonder if something might jump out at me, something waiting to strike from the edge of the road. We all heard the stories, right? About the Blue Mountains, how people went missing out here, how some swore they heard voices or saw figures lurking just beyond the trees. I can hear every branch snapping in the distance. Every rustling leaf. Out here, silence is never really silent. And still, as my heart is focused on the mission, it crosses my mind. A proud feeling of achievement despite being paid just decent enough. You ever stop and think about why you joined the army? I did every now and then. When I was a kid, I used to think about joining the Rangers. Growing up, I wasn't exactly the tough guy type. I wasn't the kid with the best grades, nor the strongest, but I knew I had something inside me. Call it instinct. That drive. And when I enlisted, I knew I had a shot at something bigger than myself. It wasn't the glory. It wasn't the fame. I didn't care about that. I wanted purpose. But it wasn't always like that. I wasn't always driven, at least not in the way they say you should be. As a kid, I was weaker than most. Skinny. Scrawny. The kind of kid who couldn't throw a punch without missing by a mile. The kind who got picked on. Bullied really. My name's Kyle Killer Martinez. Yeah, the nickname came later. But back in middle school, I was the kid who got shoved into lockers. The kid who got called names, whose lunch got stolen, whose books got tossed into the mud. The weakling, the easy target. I wasn't built for sports, wasn't fast enough, wasn't tough enough. And damn, did it sting. Every time I saw the other guys laughing, every time they looked at me like I was invisible, it ate at me. It wasn't until one of those bully types, Lenny Briggs, decided to push me into a fight with another kid twice my size that I realized something. I wasn't going to take it anymore. I couldn't. I remember it clearly. It was after school. My mom was working late again, and I had no one to turn to. Lenny was egging me on, calling me names, making everyone laugh at me. I could feel the heat in my chest, the anger, the frustration, all of it building. But I wasn't stupid. I knew if I took a swing at Lenny, I'd just end up on the floor again. But there was this other kid, Danny Thomas, the one Lenny had dragged me to fight. He wasn't just bigger, he had that quiet confidence that I'll beat you and everyone else swagger. But I was tired of being the weak kid. Tired of being the one no one respected. So, something inside me snapped. I didn't throw a punch though. Not at first. I just outsmarted him. I watched his movements, how he threw his punches, the way his body shifted before he came at me. It was like watching a clock tick down. I waited for the right moment. When he went to throw a haymaker, I ducked and knocked him off balance. He hit the ground hard. Everyone stood there shocked. I didn't feel like a hero or anything. Hell, I was terrified. But for the first time, I wasn't the weakling. That fight changed me. Not because I was tough after that, but because I learned something. I learned how to use my brain, how to adapt, how to win in ways others couldn't see. That's when I started thinking about the Army. But not just any branch. I wanted the best. The Rangers. I spent years training after that. I hit the gym harder, ran longer, and started reading up on tactics, survival, anything that would give me the edge. People laughed at first, said I was just trying to get some attention. Loneliness set in the way. From fucked up friendships to a stupid prom night, everybody seemed immature. I grew up, but I was trying to become someone I could look at in the mirror without being ashamed. By the time I graduated high school, I was in the best shape of my life. And when I walked into that recruiter's office, I was ready. I didn't just want to wear the uniform. I wanted to earn it. They didn't care about my past, about my scars. All they cared about was whether I had the will to push past my limits. I did. I always had. So I joined. And I made it. Fast forward to now. Here I am, deep in the Blue Mountains, racing against the clock. My thoughts flicker back to the mission. Find the missing team. Recover intel. Simple, right? But something's off. No one loses contact this deep in the forest without a damn good reason. And that gut feeling? It hasn't steered me wrong yet. I pass another bend in the road, the gravel crunching beneath the tires. I grip the throttle harder, the engine growling beneath me. Fast forward a few years. The 75th Ranger Regiment. Direct action, counterterrorism, personnel recovery. We're the first on the ground when things hit the fan. We're the guys who get in hit hard and leave without a trace. The higher-ups like to call it clandestine operations. Just another day in the life of a ranger. My mind drifts as I push forward. The radio crackles to life, and I instinctively tap the button. Nothing but static. I glance at the GPS. It's still locked on Eagles Ridge Road, the only route that connects us to the deeper parts of the mountains. I remember the briefing. Op Blue Mountain. A covert operation. It was back in December. We were sent in to recover something the government wanted kept off the record. Something I still don't fully understand. But it did get the adrenaline spiked up. Guess the tough ones always grew up watching movies. 007, The Predator and the Rambo? We got word of strange activity in the mountains, unusual signals, reports of strange movements from local wildlife, dead carcass, alien-like footprints, the list goes on. As usual, higher-ups kept the details vague. Whatever it was, they didn't want to risk anyone knowing too much. My team was supposed to get in, recover whatever was there, and get out. Standard. But then we lost contact with the rest of the team. I had no idea how bad it was until I was sent in to pick up the pieces. And now here I am, all alone, pushing deeper into the unknown. Every minute feels like a lifetime. The cold night air burns my lungs as I speed through the forest, navigating the rough terrain. The ATV is doing its job, but something feels off. The hairs on the back of my neck stand up, and I don't know if it's the cold or something else. But you know, Rangers don't turn away. Eagle 6, this is Eagle 1. I mutter into the calm, just to hear my own voice. Do you copy? Static. The only response is the wind. I check my weapon again, feeling the comforting weight of the M4A1. It's been with me through countless missions. If anything's going to get me through this, it's that rifle. The GPS shows I'm nearing a ridge. Not that Blackthorn Ridge, but still it had the treacherous terrain. Jagged rocks jut out from the cliffs, and narrow paths weave precariously along steep drops. The winds are howling and fog rolls in, thick and suffocating, obscuring any sign of movement. The ground is unstable, loose gravel and roots waiting to trip the unwary. I know, right? It's a place where even experienced hikers vanish without a trace. And then I hear it. A low growl. It rumbles through the trees, barely audible at first, but unmistakable. I stop the ATV. My heart thunders in my chest. Something's close. I pull the M4A1 from its sling and crouch behind the ATV, scanning the area. There's no sign of anything. No movement. I hold my breath, trying to focus. My senses are on high alert. I've been trained for this. to expect the unexpected, to move with precision. But something is off. The growl comes again, louder this time. I turn my head slowly, trying to locate the source. It's coming from somewhere deeper in the woods, but it's not the typical sound of a fucking wolf or a bear or anything I know. A flash of movement. Something big. No, huge. I can barely make it out in the darkness, but it's massive. What the fuck was that? Something moves fast and silent through the trees. As I approach slowly, rifle in motion and the torchlight trying to pierce the darkness in the direction of the sound. Then the creature steps in. I freeze. It's massive. Its arms hang low, past its waist, like a gorilla, but it's twice the size of a silverback, easily. Covered in matted hair, its face humanoid. One of its eyes glows, and I can only guess what happened to the other. The enormous shape looms over me, completely blocking the road. A Bigfoot. I've heard rumors, but I never thought I'd encounter one. I don't have time to think. I don't have time to react. My training kicks in. The creature charges with a roar. Fuck, it's agile for its size. I took a calculated shot, but I didn't think that it would charge in a zigzag pattern. I missed the damn shot. It slams into me, knocking the rifle from my hands. I scramble to get a grip, feeling the sheer force of its weight pressing down. My vision blurs and I kick, I punch, anything to break free. I feel claws rake down my neck as it grabs hard. I can taste some blood in my mouth as I twist, trying to get any leverage. It was an ambush. I fight back harder, throwing everything I've got into surviving. I grab the blade I had on me, my trusted Viper Edge tactical knife, sheathed at my side. I didn't carry it just for show. As the creature leans in, opening its wide mouth, foul breath ram in and the sharp canines. Christ, if I don't make it today, at least I shall give it a taste of the cold steel. I draw the Viper Edge in that slight second. I manage to twist the blade, driving it deep into its side. It roars, and that moment of distraction is enough for me to break free. The beast stumbles back, but I'm ready for another strike. My heart races, my breath sharp in my chest, and my mind is focused solely on survival. I move fast, staying low, keeping my blade at the ready. The creature roars loud, but this time it backs away, sensing I'm not an easy kill. I push forward and lift the rifle. Gave a fury of shots in its direction. Come on, you freak. Taste some. But the creature's not visible anymore. Then came the sound of trees rustling. I wonder if it came from above the tree line. I shot another couple of rounds, should be enough to keep it at bay. Or will it? That was my thought. March 13th, 2020. 00:30 hours. The cold night air bites at my skin as I move forward. Eyes darting between the trees. I don't know how far back I am from Eagles Ridge Road anymore. I've left the beaten path far behind, and now, all I have is the faint glow of the moon filtering through the dense canopy above. The radio's dead. I'm bleeding, but it's nothing life-threatening, not yet, anyway. The claw marks on my side are deep, and the pain pulses through me, but I focus. I have to. The creature, whatever the hell it was, did it attack the team? I check my watch. I've been on the move for over half an hour now. The adrenaline's wearing off. The cold is seeping into my bones, and my is focused on the mission ahead and, of course, the survival. There's something else out there with me. I don't know if it's more of those creatures. I don't know if I'm being followed or if this is just my mind playing tricks in the dark. But every sense is on high alert, every rustle in the trees and every snap of a twig makes me occasionally grab the Viper. I move silently, the pain in my side pushing me to grit my teeth and ignore it. My mind flashes back to my team. Echo Team. I'm closing in on the coordinates, the last place we had comms. According to the map, the ridge isn't far now. And if everything went according to plan, someone should be there. I remember her name. Operative Sarah, a quiet but damn good operative. She had been with us from the beginning, and I knew she was tough. I just had no idea how tough. But I hadn't heard from her since the mission went south. I pushed through the underbrush, my boots slipping on the wet ground. The weight of my knife in my hand is reassuring, and for a moment, I focus on the rhythmic sounds of my breath. I remind myself of my training. Always keep moving. Always adapt. As I crest the ridge, I spot something in the distance. A faint, flickering light. A fire? I squint, narrowing my eyes. It's not much, but it's enough to keep me moving forward. It's a sign of life. She's alive. I push harder, despite the weight of exhaustion pulling me down. The trees start to thin out, and the light becomes clearer. And then I hear something that freezes me in my tracks. Footsteps, heavy, slow. Should be a couple of creatures in there. Adrenaline kicked in sharp. I stopped, pressing my back against the rough bark of a tree. The footsteps stop. Silence falls. And then I hear the growls. Maybe they've caught my scent. I exhale slowly, grinding my teeth. There's more than one of them out here. They're closing in on me. I need to move, but I can't risk being spotted. I take a knee, peering around the tree. The creature I saw before is there again, standing at the edge of the clearing. It's bigger than I remembered, scanning the ground. I spot something else in the distance. Not a creature. It's her. Sarah. She's crouched low near a pile of broken branches, her face hidden in shadow. Is she alive? But the problem is she's not alone. There are 3 of them now, the creatures, flanking her. They're moving closer, their heavy steps causing the leaves to crackle underfoot. They haven't noticed her yet. I grip my rifle, knife tighter. I start to move forward, careful not to make a sound. The creatures are distracted by Sarah's position. This is the opening I need. But there's no time to think. I've got to act fast. I make my way through the brush, silent as possible, each step calculated. The creatures are only about 35 meters away now, closing in on her. I'm standing my ground, my rifle gripped tight, heart pounding in my chest. I breathe, steadying my aim. The rifle's stock presses hard into my shoulder. My finger moves to the trigger, but I don't rush it. Patience. I wait for the perfect moment, my breath slow and deliberate, watching the creature's every move. Then I take the shot. The bullet flies through the air, and I see it hit, not in the head but in the shoulder. The creature roars in pain, a growl that vibrates in the air. It stumbles, its massive form lurching to the side, but before it can fully react, I'm already moving again. They spot me. The other 2 creatures, a little slower than the first, now fully aware of my position, charge at me in unison. I don't hesitate. I fire again, calculating my shots, every pull of the trigger precise. 2 shots. One hits the first creature square in the head. It stumbles, but it doesn't fall. The skull must be too thick, too tough. Another shot. Must have hit it in the chest. It goes down with a roar, but it doesn't collapse. It slows, its movement sluggish, but it's still standing. Something's off about these things, something unnatural. My eyes shift to the third. It's moving differently, faster, more agile. Without warning, it leaps up, scaling a tree with a speed I didn't expect. It's above me now, crouching on a thick branch, and I cannot spot it now, while I have job to finish off the 2 first. Damn, this one's cunning, must be the same one-eyed fucker. I barely have time to reload, my fingers working quickly, the magazine sliding into place with a familiar click. The creatures charge again and I squeeze the trigger, the gun firing in rapid succession. One of the beasts drops with a sickening thud, its body crumpling to the ground. The second one veers to the right, covering ample distance. Still I manage to keep it on sight. Had it been broad daylight, I would have messed up these things, but the faint moonlight. The third one, still perched in the tree, waiting for an opening, doesn't move yet. The pressure is building. I can feel the sweat trickling down my neck as I steady my aim. The creature on the ground is still a threat, its massive form trying to regain its footing. I have to end this quickly. I focus on the remaining targets. The one charging is almost at me now. The one in the tree. I know it's going to strike any second. I fire. 3 shots. The charging creature takes the hit first, its momentum halting as the rounds slam into its chest, pushing it back into the underbrush, but it's not out of the fight yet. The second shot lands on the one in the tree. It shrieks, but it didn't fall. Damn, its fucking sound pierces the eardrums. It's nasty. I don't have time to think. I'm already adjusting my aim, my mind moving faster than my body. The creature in the tree is back on its feet, leaping again, this time toward me. I know what it's planning, but one perfect shot is all it'll take. Come on, you son of a bitch. I fire. The round connects. A perfect shot. Might have hit it in the skull. And for a moment, everything goes still. For a split second, I think it's over. Within that time that I managed to buy, I emptied my mag. The fucker disappears for a moment, only to show up on another tree 8 yards away, like as if it is playing a chess game. But then I hear a voice. Eagle One, Sarah whispers from the shadows, her voice barely audible. Eagle One, it's over. I don't look back at Sarah. I can't. Not yet. Not until this fight is done. But the voice cuts through the tension like a knife, and I know she's watching. She's alive. My other hand swiftly gliding to the leather on the viper edge in case this beast cuts the distance. You can say it's basic instinct from these years of counterterrorism and clandestine operations. And then it charges from the trees, leaps directly, claws extended. I knew it will. The creature doesn't hesitate. It's quick, faster than I expected. I swing my blade with everything I have, aiming for the throat. But it sidesteps, its claws raking through the air. The moment I miss, it takes its chance. Its massive hands crash into my chest, knocking the air from my lungs, and I feel myself flying backward, my feet slipping out from under me. I hit the ground hard. Pain shoots up my spine, but I'm already rolling, moving, springing to my feet. My vision blurs as I shake the stars from my head, but I can't stop. Not now. Not when Sarah is depending on me. The creature lunges again, faster this time, claws extended, and I barely dodge in time. My breath comes in ragged gasps, but I'm focused. I can feel the blood, my own blood, still staining my side, but it doesn't matter. Pain is just another thing to push through. It's the only way to stay alive. I step back, gaining distance, trying to find an opening. And just as it lunges again, I see my opening. With a roar of effort, I dive forward, slipping under the beast's massive arms, and then I bury the viper edge deep into its exposed side. Take this fucker. The creature howls in agony, a deafening sound that shakes the trees around us. I twist the blade, digging deeper, and the creature stumbles back, its hand swiping at me in a last-ditch effort. And then I fire again, full shots auto. Lit it up real bad. The beast crashes to the ground and I think it's dead. No movements. I stand there for a moment, catching my breath, not sure whether to feel relief or disbelief. There's a deep silence now, a kind of stillness that follows a fight, and for a moment, everything seems to freeze. The air smells thick with the scent of blood and earth, and I glance down at my hands, still gripping the knife. I turn toward Sarah. She's crouched low, hidden behind a stack of rocks, her eyes wide but calm. She's got her own weapon, a standard-issue SE Sauer P320, clutched tightly in both hands. But she doesn't move, doesn't even speak, for a long moment. We just stare at each other. I take a step toward her, my boots crunching against the ground. The pain in my side is sharp now, but it doesn't stop me. Nothing will. She doesn't say anything when I reach her. Instead, she simply stands and hands me a spare radio. Her eyes are focused, scanning the clearing around us for any movement, any sign of more threats. I nod, taking the radio from her with one hand and gesturing for her to move. We need to move. Now. Her lips tighten, but she doesn't argue. She's a professional. She's been through the same hell I've been through, and now we're in this together. She's not a civilian, not some survivor waiting to be rescued. She's ranger trained, just like me. We start moving immediately, moving quietly through the underbrush, keeping our heads down. For a moment, the only sounds are our quiet steps and the faint rustling of leaves. Then, the radio crackles to life in my hand. For a second, I think it's just static, but then a voice comes through, distorted, broken, but unmistakable. It's a command. Eagle 1, this is Eagle 6. Do you copy? I freeze, Sarah's eyes meeting mine. I quickly hit the comm button, not taking any chances. Eagle 1, this is Eagle 1. My voice is rough, but I don't care. I've secured the survivor. We need extraction. Roger that, Eagle 1. Extraction point is 15 clicks east. Move now. I nod, despite the fact that I know no one can see me. I pass the radio back to Sarah, who secures it again on her vest. Let's go. We move forward, but there's a pause in Sarah's step. Her face tightens, and I know she's about to say something. She hasn't spoken much since we crossed paths. Not since she told me what happened to the rest of the team. She looks over her shoulder for a moment, her voice low and strained. They were ambushed. We didn't see them coming. One moment we were on patrol, and then they were just everywhere. The creatures, the monsters, I don't know. They attacked from every direction. It was too much. Too fast. I saw Lopez go down first. He didn't even get a shot off. Then Taylor. Briggs tried to fight back, but he didn't last long either. They took all of them. She shakes her head, as if she can't shake the image from her mind. Her hands, still gripped tightly on her weapon, tremble just slightly, but she forces them still. I don't know how I survived. I don't know how I managed to fight one off. I thought I was done too. Her voice falters for just a moment, but she doesn't stop. I fell. Hit my head on a rock. Knocked me out cold. I don't even know how long I was out. She doesn't need to say any more. The weight of what happened hangs heavy between us. The team is gone. All of them. And we're the only ones left. I don't know what to say to that, so I don't. Instead, I focus on the mission. The radio crackles to life in my hand. For a second, I think it's just static, but then a voice comes through, distorted, broken, but unmistakable. It's a command. Eagle 1, this is Eagle 6. Do you copy? I freeze, Sarah's eyes meeting mine. I quickly hit the comm button, not taking any chances. Eagle 1, this is Eagle 1. My voice is rough, but I don't care. I've secured the survivor. We need extraction. Roger that, Eagle 1. Extraction point is 15 clicks east. Move now. I nod, despite the fact that I know no one can see me. I pass the radio back to Sarah, who secures it again on her vest. Let's go. We move quickly, each step purposeful, but we can't afford to rush too much. The Blue Mountains aren't kind, and our enemies are far from gone. There's still a long way to go, and as much as I want to believe the worst is over, deep down, I know we're not out of the woods yet. I keep thinking about the mission, about why we were sent here. The rest of the team gone. Sarah and I, the only two left. We'll make it out of here, but there's one thing I can't shake. The nagging feeling that the truth about this mission is still out there, buried somewhere in these mountains. And maybe, just maybe, it's something they'll never let us know. We keep moving, staying low, every step a reminder that we're still in danger. Maybe there's more of these things out there, who knows? Or different game. This forest is giving me a real headache. March 13th, 2020. 0200 hours. We've been moving for what feels like hours, but the dense undergrowth of the Blue Mountains never seems to let up. The cold isn't helping either. Every breath I take feels like I'm inhaling ice, and it's getting harder to ignore the nagging pain in my side. But there's no time to rest. No time to stop. Sarah's staying a few paces ahead of me, her movements as silent as mine. We're both on high alert. The world feels different now, darker, heavier. Like it's holding its breath. Every snapped twig or rustle in the trees sends us both into full alert, expecting another ambush. But there's no sign of the creatures. No growls, no shadows lurking just out of sight. Still, we don't let our guard down. The comms crackle again, breaking the silence. It's Eagle 6. Eagle 1, be advised, there's been a change in extraction coordinates. My heart skips a beat. A change in coordinates? I know the mission's been anything but standard, but this doesn't sit right. Not at all. What's going on? I respond, my voice steady despite the unease crawling up my spine. Intel just came through. You're going to need to go off the path. New drop points on the other side of the ridge. It's more secure. The voice sounds clipped, distant. But it's the final part of the message that catches me. Proceed with caution. There's more out there than we know. More out there? I don't have time to process that. We've already seen more than enough for a lifetime, and now this? I glance at Sarah, catching her eye. Her face is grim, but she doesn't speak. We both know what that means. The higher-ups are holding back. Copy that, Eagle 6. I snap, forcing myself to focus. We're on our way. Sarah looks over at me, eyebrows furrowed. We both know the drill. Follow the orders, but trust no one. Not when it comes to something like this. We've been trained for clandestine operations, for quiet extractions, and even higher-level missions. But nothing about this feels like a simple extraction. Not by a long shot. The air is thick as we push forward, every footstep muffled under the thick carpet of fallen leaves and wet earth. I keep checking my watch. 0200 hours. Time's slipping away faster than I'd like, and I can feel the exhaustion creeping into my bones. But there's still something gnawing at the back of my mind. What was Eagle 6 trying to tell me? What did they mean when they said, there's more out there than we know? How far? Sarah asks suddenly, her voice low but steady. Another 5 clicks. I reply, looking ahead through the haze of the forest. We've got to make it to the ridge, then head northeast. We move as quickly as we can, my mind racing through possible scenarios. I keep wondering if there's something bigger at play here, something we're not being told. I can't shake the feeling that this wasn't just a simple mission. There's too much we haven't been told. And I need answers. The ridge comes into view after what feels like an eternity. The trees start to thin out, revealing jagged rock formations and the sharp incline of the mountain. We're close, but I don't feel any safer. Not yet. Not until we're out of this godforsaken forest. Eagle 1, this is Eagle 6. The voice on the comms is clearer this time, almost urgent. I tap the button again. Go ahead, Eagle 6. Hold your position. Do not proceed any further. I stop dead in my tracks, my body going rigid. Sarah halts just behind me, sensing the change in the air. Repeat, Eagle 6. SA voice tight. Hold our position? Why? There's a pause on the other end. And when the voice finally comes through again, it's more cautious, like something's been held back. We've intercepted additional intel. There's been a breach in your sector. You're not alone anymore. The voice drops lower, almost conspiratorial. You've been compromised. This is a classified matter. No one is supposed to know. The words hit like a punch. Compromised. Classified. Something about this whole situation feels like it's spiraling out of control, faster than I can process. I glance at Sarah again. She's listening intently, her face expressionless, but I can see the tension. Eagle 1, your priority now is to extract at all costs. The voice continues, but it's more clipped now, rushed. Forget about the extraction point. Head south, follow the secondary route. You'll be picked up there. I clench my jaw, uncertainty rising in me like bile. Something's wrong. This is far from the standard op. Eagle 6, what the hell is going on? I snap, my voice rising. What do you mean compromised? What's going on with the breach? There's a long pause, then a sharp intake of breath on the other end. You don't need to know. Just follow orders, Eagle 1. The voice is flat now, devoid of the urgency it once had. That's an order. I don't respond. I can't. There's nothing left to say. The air between Sarah and me is thick now, and I feel the weight of the decision settling on my shoulders. The command is clear, get out, no matter what. But why the secrecy? Why the sudden change? And why did they need us to move to a different extraction point if there was already an operation going on in the area? The ground beneath my boots feels unstable as we begin moving again, but this time, I feel the weight of the unknown pressing harder on my chest. Something's happening in the shadows. We're not just running from these creatures anymore. We're being drawn into something bigger. We move south, but the questions linger in the back of my mind, like ghosts haunting the trail. March 13th, 2020. 0310 hours. The forest feels different now. Not just the weight of the trees or the dense underbrush, but something about the air. There's a tension hanging in it. Like the whole place is watching us, waiting for the right moment. I keep glancing over my shoulder, even though I know Sarah's got our six. It's a habit, a reflex. But it doesn't feel like the usual paranoia. We've been following the secondary route for a little over an hour now, but the further we move, the more uneasy I get. The path is narrow, winding between rocks and thick clusters of trees. My boots crunch through the undergrowth, but it's almost too quiet. The usual forest noises, birds, insects, the rustling of small animals, are all gone. It's just still. The quiet is suffocating. I keep pushing it out of my mind. We're moving, we're still alive. But that voice on the comms keeps echoing in my head. You've been compromised. There's been a breach. Sarah's not saying much. She never does unless it's necessary. But her pace has slowed, and I can see it in her eyes. She's just as uneasy as I am. You good? I ask quietly, not wanting to break the silence too much, but needing to know. She doesn't look at me, but I hear her voice, low and steady. Yeah. There's a pause. Then, this doesn't feel right, though. That's the understatement of the year. I nod, but I don't say anything else. What's there to say? We're in the middle of a forest that might as well be a war zone, surrounded by creatures we shouldn't even be talking about, and now we're supposed to head south, into what? A new extraction point? With a breach looming in the air? I focus on my breath, steadying myself. Can't afford to slip up now. Can't afford to second-guess anything. My M4A1 is still slung across my back, but the Viper Edge is in my hand now, the blade gleaming faintly in the pale light filtering through the trees. Every step we take, I feel its weight, heavy with the weight of the unknown. Then, without warning, Sarah holds up a hand. It's subtle, but I see it. The signal. She's stopped. I freeze instantly, every muscle going rigid. She's turned her head slightly, her eyes scanning the trees ahead. Her rifle is raised now, the barrel aimed ahead, just above the ground. Something's out there. I can feel it. The air feels colder now, and not just from the altitude. There's a low hum that fills the air, like the forest itself is holding its breath. I crouch, doing the same. My body goes into autopilot as I grip the M4A1 with both hands, locking my stance in place. I try to listen through the silence, but it's difficult. I hear it before I see it. A soft thud. Then another. A slow, steady rhythm, like something or someone is moving just out of sight. Sarah leans in close, whispering, "Do you hear that?" I nod once, but I don't speak. There's no need. The thuds are getting closer now, unmistakable. We're not alone. She starts moving, slow and deliberate, and I follow suit, my eyes darting back and forth. I keep my gun at the ready, but my focus is on the ground ahead of us. There's something off about the way the underbrush is moving, the way the leaves stir, as if they've been disturbed by something large. The thuds stop. Then the silence is shattered by a sharp crack. A twig snaps, loud and clear. Shit. Sarah mutters under her breath. My eyes snap to the sound. My grip tightens on the M4A1. It's hard to make out anything in the shadows, but I know one thing. There's no time to wait. We move in tandem, our bodies silent as we move towards the disturbance. Then we see it. A figure. Dark, almost blending into the shadows, but its eyes, two dull yellow glows. It's not as large as the creatures we fought earlier, but it's still imposing. I hold my breath, watching as it moves closer, just at the edge of my vision. Then it stops. It's staring right at us. Is it a female? I whispered to Sarah. Does it matter? She replied. The thing hisses, a sound like air being forced through a pipe, and I barely have time to react before it leaps into motion. It's on us in a blink of an eye, its claws reaching for Sarah. She fired. the shot cutting through the silence like a crack of thunder. I took a precise shot to its chest. The creature jerks back, letting out a shrill screech, and I'm already moving, raising my rifle. Another shot rings out, and this time, the creature stumbles, but doesn't go down. Then I hear it. More thuds. More movement in the trees. I look around, my heart sinking. We're not alone. More of them. I don't know how many, but I can hear their footsteps now, moving from all sides. There's no escape. We're surrounded. We've got to move now. I hiss to Sarah, grabbing her arm and pulling her toward the trees. There's no time to think. No time to process what's happening. All I know is that we need to get the hell out of here. We move fast, but the creatures are fast too. I glance over my shoulder, seeing the gleam of eyes in the darkness. They're not just hunting us, they're hurting us. Sarah's already ahead of me, making a break for the cover of the rocks up ahead. I push myself harder, harder than I've ever pushed before. We hit the rocks, and I feel the sudden weight of something shift in the air, the presence of something watching. But there's no time to waste. We climb the rocks, the higher ground giving us some advantage. March 13th, 2020. 04:30 hours. The rocks beneath my boots feel solid, but the ground around us is anything but stable. The thick canopy of trees has shifted into jagged stone outcrops, the cliffside on our left sheer and unforgiving. We've climbed as high as we can without losing ground, but I can't shake the feeling that we're being pushed into a corner. The creatures, whatever the hell they are getting closer. Sarah's up ahead, crouched behind a boulder, rifle at the ready, scanning the perimeter. I follow suit, but it's harder to focus now. The cold isn't just from the mountain air. It's the kind of chill you get when you realize you've stumbled onto something dangerous, something far worse than what we've already faced. We've been moving for hours. Our original mission? Irrelevant. The extraction point? It might as well be a dream. Right now, it's about survival. But then something shifts. A break in the rocks, a narrow passage leading deeper into the heart of the mountain. It's almost too perfect, too convenient. This way. Sarah's voice is low, barely a whisper, but I hear it clearly. I nod, staying close. We squeeze through the narrow opening, and it feels like we've just entered another world. The temperature drops further as we move deeper, and the air grows thick with the scent of decay. It's not just wet earth and pine here. There's something else, a pungent, fetid odor that hits you in the gut. I'm holding my breath, but it doesn't help. The smell is overwhelming. We push through the tight corridor, and as we round the corner, the passage opens into a large cavern. It's not just a cave, it's a lair. The walls are slick with moisture, and the floor is littered with remnants, bones. Animal bones. Dead carcasses. And something else. Human bones. I take a cautious step forward, the crunch of something underfoot too loud in the silence. There's a gnawing feeling in my gut as I kneel down, pushing aside a pile of leaves and old branches. A femur. A ribcage, broken and gnawed on. The remains are fresh enough that I can still see the tattered remnants of military-issued gear attached to the bones. Oh God! Sarah's voice cracks through the stillness, her words barely audible, but the horror in her tone says everything. She steps forward, shining her flashlight across the room. The light catches something I can barely process. There are more bones, more bodies, scattered across the floor. Some of them are almost whole. These were our guys. Her voice trembles now, and I can hear her breathing hard. It's taking everything to stay calm. But the evidence is unmistakable. I'm not sure if we're looking at the remains of the lost team we were sent to find or something worse. This is beyond any mission I've ever been on. The lair is expansive, the walls carved and smoothed by time, but the remains are the least unsettling thing here. The walls, slick and dark with something unnatural, seem to pulse with a faint glow, markings on the walls in maroon or dark red, symbols, some kind of drawings. It doesn't if they used blood or some fucking color, but I was certain these fuckers are intelligent. I'm not sure if it's bioluminescence or just my nerves playing tricks, but the more I look, the more it feels like we're intruding on something ancient. Something that's been hiding here for far longer than any of us could have imagined. The creatures don't just exist here. They thrive here. I feel it before I see it. A shift in the air, a vibration in the ground. And then there it is, growls, like the rumble of thunder before the storm. We're not alone in the lair. The ground shifts again, and the shadows around us seem to stretch. I turn slowly, scanning the cave, and I finally see them. Two pairs of eyes, glowing faintly in the darkness, reflecting the light of our flashlights. The creatures aren't stupid. They're waiting, watching us. And I get the sickening realization that this is their domain. We're the intruders. They move, slow at first, then faster, like shadows coming to life. I instinctively raise my rifle, but Sarah grabs my arm. No. Wait. She hisses, but it's too late. One of them lunges forward, and I fire without thinking. The shot echoes, but the creature is too fast. It ducks, the bullet grazing its shoulder. Before I can get another shot off, it's on me, its claws swiping through the air. I barely manage to step back in time, but the force of its swipe knocks me off balance. I stumble, falling hard against the stone floor, hitting the same spot where the last pane cracked. "Move!" Sarah yells, her voice barely audible over the sound of our own breathing, the pounding of our hearts. I scramble to my feet, firing again, and this time, the creature stumbles, recoiling from the impact. The other one moves in, silent, methodical. But this one isn't like the others I've seen. Its movements are smoother, more calculated. It doesn't charge blindly, it moves with purpose, its eyes locked on us like it's studying us, learning from every shift of our bodies. I've seen predators before. But these things, they're not just animals. They're smart. They're calculating. It's like they know exactly what we're thinking, anticipating our every move. "Fall back!" I shout, but there's nowhere to fall back to. The lair is a maze of rocks and bones. We're trapped. I don't know how many there are, but I can feel the weight of their presence all around us. These creatures have been here for a long time. They've adapted to the environment. They've learned how to hunt. They've learned how to trap, how to herd. They're not driven by just instinct. They know. They understand. They've watched us long enough to know that we won't leave without a fight. They know how to play the game. The ground shakes again, and then a deafening roar fills the cave. It's not just one creature anymore. There's a chorus of them echoing through the cavern, shaking the walls around us. I can hear Sarah's breathing, harsh and fast, but I can't take my eyes off the creatures in front of us. They're circling, closing in, and I know we don't have much time left. We need to end this. I mutter under my breath, but I don't know how. There's no way out. Not yet. March 13th, 2020. 0500 hours. I didn't think it was possible, but the darkness here feels thicker now. The creatures move around us with precision, their claws scraping against the stone walls, their breath heavy in the air. We're locked in the lair, every movement feels like it might be our last, every breath a gamble. The sheer weight of it all is pressing down on me, but I can't afford to let it break me. Not now. Not when we've come this far. Sarah is to my right, crouched low and tight, her rifle aimed at the closest creature, but her eyes are darting around, searching for a way out. I know what she's thinking. We're trapped. There's no way out. But she's also a survivor, just like me. She's not giving up, and neither am I. They're not just animals. They're intelligent. They know how to anticipate our every move. This isn't some primal attack, it's methodical. Calculated. We need to push forward, now. Sarah's voice is steady despite the chaos, but her gaze is frantic. She's thinking ahead, calculating our options. There's no time to wait. No time to plan. Just move. Just survive. I nod, gritting my teeth. My hand tightens around my rifle, and I turn to face the creatures head-on. They hesitate for just a moment, their eyes glowing in the dark. It's almost like they're sizing us up, deciding which one of us is the bigger threat. They understand. They plan. They know how to toy with us, wear us down, push us into a corner. But I'm not ready to die yet. I won't die here. I hear Sarah's breath, sharp and fast, but steady. She's not panicking, but she's on edge, like a coiled spring. The fire in her eyes tells me she's not just fighting for survival. She's fighting for something more. We're not just here to escape. We're here to uncover a truth, the truth. The ground shakes again, and I glance over at Sarah. Her rifle is raised, aimed directly at the shadowy outline of one of the creatures. She doesn't fire. She waits. Don't engage until we have the high ground. I whisper, my voice hoarse, barely audible over the sounds of the creatures moving in the dark. I can feel their eyes on me, studying me. There's a strategy behind this. There always is with them. They know we're desperate. There's a momentary shift in the air, a deep, almost imperceptible growl. The creatures are getting closer. We don't have much time. I glance around, my eyes searching for something, anything, that could give us an edge. We're running low on ammo. We're surrounded. We're trapped. Get ready to move. I say, my voice unwavering. Sarah nods, the corner of her lips twitching into a grim smile. We both know what's coming next. We need to get to the exit. Now. Sarah hisses, her voice low but urgent. I don't need to be told twice. We've fought these things long enough. It's time to go. But the exit feels miles away. It's like we're stuck in their web, and the more we fight, the more we get pulled in. I don't take my eyes off the creatures. I keep the knife in my hand, ready for the next attack, but my mind is racing. I don't have time to process that thought. The creatures are closing in, their eyes gleaming in the dim light, their growls filling the air. They've got us surrounded. Then, from the shadows, a figure appears, a woman. She's moved closer, silently, as though she's part of the environment itself. She's wearing a dark version of our combat gear. Move back, she hisses, her voice barely a whisper, but sharp. Without waiting for a response, she charges, her rifle spraying rounds into the nearest creature. Get the hell out of here, she yells, her voice carrying an edge of urgency. Sarah and I exchange a glance. We have no other choice. We have to follow her. We scramble to our feet. The woman moves quickly, darting through the cave, her movements fluid and controlled. We follow her, but it feels like we're running through a maze, every turn leading us deeper into the labyrinth of rock and bone. The ground is uneven, and the echoes of our footsteps are swallowed by the oppressive silence that surrounds us. Finally, we reach the cave's mouth, the exit. The forest is still dark, the trees looming tall and silent, but we can see the faint outlines of the sky. But as we move toward the edge of the cave, the woman stops. She turns toward us, her rifle still raised, her eyes scanning the trees. She's waiting for something. Or someone. You're not leaving just yet, she says, and I can hear the bitterness in her voice. I'm not finished here. Before I can ask what the hell she's talking about, I hear it. The sound, distant at first, but growing louder. Helicopters. Military choppers. They're coming fast. There's no way they could have gotten here that quickly. We've got to move. Sarah shouts, her voice frantic, but the woman isn't listening. She's still staring into the distance, watching the approaching choppers. No, we're not done. She mutters, more to herself than to us. Not until we have proof. And then it hits me. I'm still holding the creature's severed claw in my hand, the one I tore from its body in the chaos of the fight. It's the only thing I've been able to hold on to, the only proof that these creatures exist. That they're real. The woman's eyes flick to it, then back to me. There's a flicker of recognition in her gaze, but it's gone in an instant. She turns, her back to us, and motions toward the trees. Follow me. We need to get this to HQ. They'll know what to do. I'm confused, but there's no time to question her. The helicopters are close now, the sound of their rotors piercing through the silence. We move quickly, ducking into the trees. The woman leads the way, her steps light and confident. I'm still holding the claw. We reach a small clearing hidden from view, and the woman stops. This is it, she says, her voice almost too calm. You'll need to take it from here. She hands us a small, encrypted radio. Headquarters will get the signal. They'll know what to do with the remains. But as for you too, this. She motions to the claw in my hand. Don't let anyone see it. You're not ready for what you'll find. I don't have time to process her words. The helicopters are overhead now, and I can see the shadowy figures of soldiers descending into the clearing. The woman is already gone, blending into the night like a ghost. We're left standing in the darkness. The weight of the creatures remains heavy in my hands. The helicopters land, and a team of soldiers emerges, rifles raised, scanning the area. Their leader steps forward, eyes scanning us. You two are lucky, he says, his voice cold. HQ wants a full report. We'll take you from here. But I don't answer. Not yet. The creatures remain still burn in my hands. There are questions, too many questions. And for the first time, I feel like we've been part of something much larger than we could ever understand. This was just the beginning. There's more to this than anyone could ever know. And I'm not sure I'm ready for the answers that are coming. But they'll come. Eventually. Because now I know. And I shall be ready for another fight. If you like what you heard, do subscribe to my channel. I shall be back with second part to this Ranger's story. Or you can say documents. But either way, these events occur all the time. Thank you for being here.